In the beginning of our world literature class, we sought out to look through all of the themes in the earliest pieces of literature we have available. In literature's attempt to console us about the human condition, it gives us many lessons to learn through its storytelling. Not only does literature teach us lessons, but it also preaches on the values that we have existing in our own lives. As a class of mostly teenagers, some of the values that were presented were money, success, education, beauty, and power. Although these are very valid values, I found that the most important theme that was brought up in most of the text were passions and the dangers of love. So what? Why should I care, might you ask? Well, you should care because the way that love and passions are mentioned in these historic stories offers the tools that we need to better shape our thought on the importance of love in our own lives. Our first piece of text that embodies the values of love and passion is in the Odyssey. In this case, Odysseus has just returned home and is reciting his journey to his wife Penelope. On page 364, Homer writes, "He told her how Calypso trapped him there, inside her hollow cave, and wanted him to be her husband. She took care of him and promised she could set him free from death and time forever. But she never swayed his heart. He suffered terribly, for years." This is a great love quote because it shows that even though Calypso claimed to love Odysseus enough to want him to stay on the island, Odysseus' own love for Penelope and his own home is the reason why he is unable to be swayed. We can use this as a life lesson in our own lives, such as if your intentions are good or if your passions are for the right reasons, then you can maybe get what you want, or you'll be more inclined to get what you want. Next up is Sappho, the ancient Greek female author who is well known for her poems on love itself. On page 382, Sappho writes, "Some say an army of horsemen, others a host of infantry, others a fleet of ships is the most beautiful thing on the black earth, but I say it's whatever you love." For the audience, we know that this poem is about the Trojan War. Homer is another popular author during this period, but his pieces are more focused on masculinity and war, versus Sappho, who is more focused on love and passions, the values that we are trying to prove relevant in the last 12 weeks worth of text. But more about the quote, Sappho is focusing about how love is more interesting and beautiful than warships. She leaves her own feminine twist on the world around her and sets love at a higher value than war. The next piece of literature that we visited that showed an apparent theme of love and passions was Virgil's The Aeneid. On page 498, Virgil writes, "So Dido, doomed, was lengthening out the night by trading tales as she drank long draughts of love, asking Aeneas, question on question, now about Priam, now Hector, what armor Memnon, son of the morning, wore at Troy." In this quote, Dido was less interested in what Aeneas has to say and more the fact that he's saying anything at all. She's been hit by Cupid's bow, and she's very interested in his stories only because it involves him interacting with her. This quote exemplifies the values of love and passions because it's mentioning that Dido is only going to this extent to impress the one that she thinks that she loves, or to interact with him as long as she possibly can. The fourth author that offers an example of love and passions in his work would be Euripides' Medea. On page 455, Euripides writes, "Overwhelming love never leads to virtue or a good reputation. Just enough Aphrodite is the greatest blessing." Before this quote, Medea and Jason had just gotten a really heated argument about how Jason had left Medea for the princess. The first three authors are more about love than they are about passions. In Euripides' Medea, the chorus is stating that too much love or too much passion is dangerous. We can obviously see the consequences of too much passion through Medea killing her two sons and the princess and subsequently the king. To summarize, we've gone over 4 different authors in chronological order, from Homer to Sappho to Virgil to Euripides. We've covered evidence from each one to support the values of love and the dangers of overwhelming passions. Here we are at the fun part, when we finally ask ourselves, why does it even matter that we went over this stuff? Well, I'll explain to you. We need to take consideration the values of love and passions into our lives so we can treat our relationships with other human beings the way that they should be treated. And when we get the privilege of falling in love with someone, we need to take in consideration how much we love them, or how much we smother them, or how much we protect them, because they're their own person too, and we can never let our own desires or passions get the best of us. Thank you for watching my final, and although I'm not good with words, I hope you know that I actually did learn a lot during this class. Thank you, Jill.